Let's roll. This is Countercharge, your podcast for ranks, flanks, and kings of war. Join your hosts as they delve into the world of Panithor and bring you worldwide coverage of all things Kings of War.
Welcome to Countercharge. This is Josh.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Rough Enough, and you may remember these gentlemen, Adam and Josh. They were on back in January to talk about, what they thought from a new player's perspective, really diving into Kings of War in 4th edition. So, guys, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having us back.
Thanks for having us.
Well, let's start there. It's been 5 months. I'm sure the hobby juices have been flowing. Adam, kick us off. I know you've been really hammering the new Salamander STL army. Just give us a sense of how you've been finding that army from a modeling perspective.
Yeah, so I picked up all the STLs when they came out in December, I want to say, and I was printing out a bunch of stuff that I thought I wanted all through December and January, and then I joined the Discord Slow Grow League that Rob told us about. That is 1 unit a month. And then immediately after that, Mantic started their Slow Grow League, which is 500 points every 6 weeks. And so I've been playing this juggling game where I'm like, well, if I do this one for this unit for the February Discord, and then also do this in the first half of the March, that can count for the first stage of the Mantic League. But yeah, so I sent Rob some pictures of it. They put me on one of the blog posts for the Mantic Slow Grow League for the first stage. They were the red salamanders, the blue flames, if you saw those. They've been really good. Only little problem I had is some of the pegs on the Commodon arms don't fit into the holes properly. They're a little too big, and I just had to shave them down, so it's not too big a deal. Prime models are really great. The cavalry models are really good, even if they're big and they have spears and big wavy tails, so it's really hard to get them on a regiment base. I've been going full on into the multi-basing. Had nothing too crazy, doing sort of a jungle theme with pieces of ruined temple on the ground and big jungle plants. And so basically I'll put the models on there, arrange them however I think they can go, and then stick as many jungle plants in between them as I can, like they're walking through the jungle. I have a regiment of primes, regiment of Kaisener Lancers, troop of Kaisener Lancers, mage priest, and a Commandant I did for the first stage. For the second stage, I said, well, let's just do all of these fire elementals at once. So I did 2 regiments of fire elementals, 2 troops of fire elementals that I can put into a regiment, and 2 greater fire elementals. Yeah, and I got a regiment of primes in there as well. I'm working on another regiment of primes, troop of ancients, and Zake, the champion's character. It'll be 2,000 points, technically. Probably not the 2,000 points you want to be playing with. Doesn't work exactly, but I'm trying to get stuff done together. The models are really good. I've really been enjoying all of the multi-basing, and just the finished product of it is so cool. And I don't have to put away 20 models when I'm going to put away a unit. I did red skin with black armor plates. The idea being when lava's hot, the deeper parts of it are the brighter colors. So there's the yellows and reds, and then the outer part of it that's hardened and solidified is the black. So they have that inner fire theme. So I try to experiment with a couple of paint schemes, and that was easy to do and looked the part. So yeah, they're all red with the black armor plating, which comes out really cool. Then I'm using blue fire as an accent. So all the fire elementals are blue. All the mage priest staff and the standards are blue fire. And then I made the cavalry mounts green, they were trying to hide in the jungle, but the primes are so apex predator that they don't have to hide in the jungle anymore. Yeah, they came out really well. I love the models. The STLs are really good. I'm a huge fan. I printed out a bunch of stuff for Josh because he's doing Zerkali, and they also released a bunch of stuff for them, STL wise, to go with the new models, which has been great.
Yeah, I love the different alternate heads for the Zerkali, where you got the pug and the different breeds, and it just allows you to customize. I mean, I'm a dog guy, so it's cool to be able to customize the models, right? I think it's going to be pretty awesome.
So you could do a whole army of just different heads and just make a whole army of just not hounds. So it's awesome.
Well, let's talk about that. How are you finding the Zerkali? It's a mix of hard plastic, some resin, and then obviously you've got this 3D printable elements where they've got some extra bits, but they also have some specific characters and stuff, I think, as well. So
I didn't have anything really 3D printed like Adam, so I took a different approach where I got the battalion box and then I split the starter box with our friend Graham and I took that half. And then I got a few extra heroes, the monkey, the Shokan monk.
So awesome. He kind of doesn't fit in the army aesthetically, but
Not at all.
But he's just so awesome.
And he's got the little pose. He's like, get over here. I'm going to fight you.
Kyle Preselinski was describing this to me, I don't know, a year and a half ago. And he was really kind of giving me the vibe of like Kung Fu Panda, right? That kind of vibe.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And he kind of has that vibe, but not comical. Looks like he would whoop your ass.
He's a big old gorilla that has a giant metal headband like Conan the Barbarian. So like he's obviously coming here for the fight. But like I love it. The approach I took was that I was kind of just doing 2 of everything. So I got 2 of the shield guys, 2 of the sword brethren, and then I got 2 regiments of Yan, 2 regiments of the Planestalkers. Then I got 2 regiments of the wild werewolves. And I kind of just took the approach of I wanted to do everything to play with them. I was been playing a lot with the Matriarch. I think the Witch Hunter is a lot of fun. And then Adam, as he mentioned, he was very nice to print off all of the heroes. So I got, Lin, the special Yan monk guy who has this really cool chain that's flowing in the air. And it looks beautiful. It's only snapped about 3 times since I've put it together, but it is beautiful.
It looks pretty delicate.
I printed out 2 so that I could have one. I said, I don't even want this anymore. It's so crazy.
It's a great thing that I think it's awesome that they took instead of selling the special characters, they just did them as STL files. So what Adam did is he waited for a sale. I think that was April 1st, right, Adam, when they went on sale?
They have a sale for anyone who's a Vault subscriber. So you get like 20% off of buying the files.
And so what I did is I waited for them to go on sale, and then I had him print off the Yan hero, the witch elf with the huge chainsaw in the air. Yeah, and then there was the kaiju killer, who's really fun, and I've been in the process of putting her together. I think the models are really fun to put together, and what I really like about it is just from a hobby aspect, we've been kind of problem solving it to make them a little bit unique. One of the cool things I found out with the Planestalkers and the werewolves is that they give you 2 torsos, but they only give you 1 set of legs. And I was like, Adam, can we find some legs to put these on here? And he actually found out the really cool thing of if you take the Kaiju Slayer, she comes with legs, and you can just print off the bottom legs, and then you can double the size of your box. So instead of just having 6 Planestalkers, you can have 6 Planestalkers and 6 of the Wild Fangs. And then you can double the size of that box and then get more money for your worth by just having some STL 3D printed legs. So we're finding creative ways to do it, and it's really fun to have a different size, because I think I told you last time I do a lot of bolt action where things are 28 millimeter, and so I've got a bunch of painted 28 millimeter stuff, bunch of Legion stuff, but a slightly larger size of the dogs. It's a lot more fun to hold and paint them because I can actually see the detail to paint them. So I'm just having a lot of fun just picking out more detail than I can.
Ogre size models are just awesome to play. And I know that some of the dogs aren't quite ogre size, but they're bigger, right? And I think for me too, I have bad eyesight. So I've got to, wear magnification when I'm painting. And the bigger the model, the easier it is for me to paint.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you said you split your 2-starter box set with Graham. Does that mean he's playing the Trident Realms?
So Graham didn't take a step into Kings of War. He went full diving board into the deep end. He not only has that starter box, but he bought, 4 more starter boxes, Adam?
He's been playing Twilight Kin with us.
He has Northern Alliance. He's got Night Stalkers, the whole Night Stalker army picked up. He picked up some of the dwarves, I know that. And then he's got the half of the starter box that I have. So he loves the game, and
that's awesome.
He even picked up a Champions box. He did some customized work where he took the Lethal Sail guy for the Twilight Kin, did some customized jobs, and then took it to Adepticon and did the one-day tournament for Champions, and he actually won the painting competition.
Oh, that's fantastic.
He won Best Painted, and he had not played. He pulled a Josh and had not played the game before he went to the Adepticon event.
Did either of you guys make it to Adepticon?
No, I couldn't.
It was spring break.
Not only is Graham so pumped, he went solo?
Yes. So he went, and then he was like, these Kings of War players are so friendly. They taught me how to play it, and they had free tokens. They showed him how to do it. He was having such a great time that he was invited to the special event where they just talk about upcoming releases. And he's like, oh, this is awesome. So then he was sending pictures of us of things of like, oh, this is on sale. You want to buy it? Graham is a great friend because, he'll be like, yeah, sure, I'll buy this for my friends. And then he picked up a Champions box of the halflings. And he has a friend at the store, Dave, who loves halflings. So he gave him the Champions box for his birthday. Because he was like, oh, I was looking into this. And then the guy immediately opened it up and then started building and painting it. And he built and painted his entire halfling army in a month.
The halfling character in that box is amazing.
Oh, yeah, just holding on for dear life, like, please.
It reminds me of something like a Blood Bowl model from like the 90s or something, right? This is just crazy contraption, barely hanging on. So, well, it sounds like you guys are enjoying the hobby. Are you guys salivating over what's coming next? We've got another book coming. You've got the Forces of the Abyss in there, some ogres, some Basileia. And I thought it was going to be Forces of Nature, but maybe it's more like the cat herd. I'm not sure yet. A lot of sketches and designs concepts they've shown so far look pretty interesting.
Green Lady's been up to something. We just don't know what, right? I'm actually really excited about the Forces of the Abyss. I actually won the starter box back when I played the Firefight tournament, and I've never opened it. So it's just kind of giving me that itch to, well, maybe if the book comes out, I'll see what the new units are and I'll start building them.
Some would joke we probably don't need another winged character for Forces of the Abyss, but the model's pretty badass, so I'll definitely buy and paint him up.
We have a little chat here, and Adam and Graham and I all looked at it. I was like, he must be awesome because not only does he have a 6-pack, but he's got like 20-pack.
He's got like a keg in the middle, and he's on a 40mm base, so he's obviously bigger than some of the smaller wing characters that they've had in the past, like Matabusu and some of those. So it's a super great model, and to that end, I mean, they've also been still releasing salamander models, right? The new Raqquaz model is out of control, which it looks like it must have started as part of the existing slasher. Man, it's super cool, and it's got me salivating as well.
It paints up well.
Yeah, it looks like the same salamander body with just a different head or a different mouth, maybe.
And a super cool character riding it in the back, like surfing it,
that's
like
ridiculous.
Teen Wolf on the back of that big truck. I don't know if you guys ever seen that movie.
I pictured more Ghost Ride the Dragon, right? Like,
Yeah, I'm excited about the new book, though. I think that's going to open up some new armies, a lot of new models. I don't need another hobby army. Like I'm already behind as it is. But man, if they come out and just knock it out of the box, I think I'm going to be in trouble.
If they just update the metal models and make them plastic, I think it'll be a big win because the older I get, the more I don't like metal models.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
They just fall apart and they're just difficult to put together. But I think it's going to be great.
They're more than one piece. I don't want anything to do with it. Like, I'm not pinning metal models anymore. This isn't 1993. Thinking about what is the narrative arc going to be of this new book? Because, the first book, was, okay, here comes the invasion of the Zerkali. Okay, now you've got, ogres, which historically been like a neutral army. And the Forces of Nature were also kind of a neutral army. So you got two neutrals. And then you got like the two extremes. The so good they're bad, Basilean. And the so evil they're just terrible, the Forces of the Abyss. I'm going to be interested to see how they tell that story.
Well, they've been hinting it a little bit, so it's exciting.
It is very exciting. And it's not long, hopefully, until we get in our grubby mitts and get to playing 4 new armies. You guys were out in January. We're now sitting here in May. You went into 4th edition. You were bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. You're 5 months in. What's changed for you? Like any of your expectations were fulfilled? Any of your expectations were, kind of didn't materialize? Kind of how are you feeling about the game at this point?
We talked about this before when they came out and said, most of our players are garage players. So we've been playing like once a month, right? We're not getting a lot of games in. We started at 1,000 points, played a handful of games at 1,000 points, and said, "Well, we want to play bigger than this." And so we've been playing 1,500 for the last couple months. I think it's mostly been kind of what we expected, and it's functionally like we'll play the game, and then we'll talk about we'll play a game or two or whatever we play, and then we'll talk about it for as long as we played, and then we'll have a Discord chat that we go on for the next month until we're scheming and talking about what we're building. So, for the most part, it's just been excited to try new things because we have more desire to play than we have time and ability to play. Honestly, I think we played the 1,000-point games. We kind of like round robin, all played each other, Josh, Graham, and I. And playing 1,000 points, we tried it both on the 3-foot square and the 4-foot square table, and it felt just like too packed a little bit. I don't know if that's what happens when you get up to like 2,500 on a 6x4, but it fell to the point where kind of like everyone's just packed in there with the train in there. There's not very many places we can go, and we just mash into each other and see what happened. And I think all the games ended on like turn 3 with someone being wiped out, because even if you couldn't run away, you didn't have enough room to run away if you wanted to. So I think like my experience with that, not that I expected it, because I never liked playing 1,000 points in like old Warhammer Fantasy anyway. But the smaller points didn't really give me the feel I was looking for, and I feel like I'd almost rather maybe play Champions. I haven't tried Champions yet. What do you think about the 1,000 point games, Josh?
Champions is a different game.
Yeah, but I'm saying like if I'm going to play with like 5 units, I want to have them each to have do something more.
I totally understand that. I think the best selling point for me at 1,000 points is I agree with Adam. Like bigger armies is always more fun because you actually have a little bit more strategy. And as he was saying, like the smaller board kind of felt constrained. So we kind of expanded it a little bit. But we've been talking about our other friend, Graham, who's kind of loving the game. He's been joining our game nights. And the one thing I can't iterate enough about Kings of War is just how easy it is to teach and how easy it is for someone to pick up. Graham's never played the game. He didn't read the rules before showing up. He just showed up with his 1,000-point army. He played a game with me. He got the basic ideas of how the game was played. And then he played a full game with Adam. There was no, well, how does this work? No confusions, no gotchas. And I think the biggest thing that surprised me was after our first 1,000-point game, we played 3 different games that night in one night in 2.5 hours, which is awesome. There wasn't any well, how does this work? And let's look up the rules. We didn't really have that problem where we were sitting there saying wow, it just works. And it was really great to teach somebody and they could just figure it out after 2 games and play it. And I mean, we had one thing that we couldn't figure out, and I think the FAQ answered it, which is what happens when you have a fearless unit that hits their courage by being shot at? Is it devastated? Is it removed from the table? And I think that was resolved by the FAQ. But at that time, we're we don't know what to do with this. But the fact that 3 of us only had one time where the rules, we couldn't figure it out by just opening the rule book and just following what the rule book said in front of us, that's an accomplishment. And I think that's something that I think a lot of people might overlook if they've been playing this for a while.
I've been having discussions with new players and veteran players. And one of the things that's kind of dawned on me, I think for those of us that have been playing a really long time, a lot, I think it's too much baggage. And I think we're actually the ones getting tripped up by the new stuff because we're expecting, we've got it all in our head. It's this way. But newer players that don't have as much experience, I think it's a blessing because you come at the game fresh and you just read the rules as they're written and you don't read anything into them that's not there.
Right.
Yeah. So it's refreshing to hear. I'm really glad you guys are enjoying it. How's Graham and your local scene? Has there been any uptick? I know you guys are playing once a month.
Been posting pictures of our models we've been doing and some of the games we've been playing. Local store Discord. We've definitely had people come out of the woodwork going oh yeah, I heard about it. I wanted to try that. And I think Graham's going to run a Champions learn to play event coming up here at the store. Nothing big, just
I think next month.
Yeah, him and he's going to bring the couple of Champions forces he has. Another guy's going to bring his. Yeah, here on June 7th. Yeah, and fair game in Downers Grove. Come hang out. It's not a big thing. It's just a couple guys getting together to.
Yeah, so it's been growing organically. People are just posting stuff. People are getting excited. I think I just talked about Dave. He was posting his units, and people are oh, those things look great. I've been posting my Zerkali army. People are those dogs have swords. Tell me more about this. So it's just people who've never been introduced to Mantic is those are the people that are actually the most interested in it. And Fair Games is they've been doing pretty well with Mantic store products in general. I think last time I told you that they've been hosting Halo Flashpoint tournaments. They have so many people now that they are actually selling out of their Halo Flashpoint tournaments at 16 people, and they're doing them monthly now.
Wow.
And so they've got this amazing huge community, and there are people from Wisconsin coming down, from Indiana, from Ohio, coming in to play at the store because they have a Halo Flashpoints community. And that game barely existed for a year. So that's awesome. And now people know what Mantic is, and they're oh, I love this game system. Let's bring it in. At Fair Games, it's growing. People are very excited, and it's kind of this organic excitement to just try a new game. We've just been kind of saying look, you can have another game, but you can try this one, and it's a lot of fun. But yeah, it's great because everyone that we have playing doesn't have necessarily, as you said, the baggage of the old system.
Well, plus I think you're not jaded. Anytime you have a edition change, you're going to have some folks that were playing it for a long time that really liked that version of the game. And, it's no different than any other game system. We've, played Warhammer, Fantasy Battles, same thing. When 8th edition comes out, oh, I really, really like 7th edition. I don't really like 8th. Or there's some people going, oh, I couldn't stand 7th. It's one of those things where you can't please everybody, right? I think they hit the sweet spot in terms of critical mass.
What was that we were having a discussion about, Josh? Graham was listening to the Lone Wolf coverage y'all did. And he's like, what were they talking? I didn't understand because they were talking about the wild charge rule, and maybe you can explain it, better than. But basically, what is it? You have to you declare who you're charging before you know how much the wild charge roll is.
Correct. That's different than in 3.5. 3.5, you roll the wild charge dice. You know the outcome of the dice. You then just measure and figure out who you have charge distances to, and you charge. Now you have to declare it before rolling the dice. And the crappy part isn't necessarily for that unit, is if you were combo charging. I think the point that Dylan was making was that if I'm going this wild charge unit and this other unit together, well, you've declared a charge. The unit that failed their wild charge roll, they don't charge now. But their buddy's got to go in solo, and they might end up getting stomped.
And that's interesting because we had that conversation because we were talking about it and we're like, we were trying to figure it out. And then we kind of came to that conclusion. And the three of us are like, that's not necessarily a feels bad. They chose a rule. It was kind of a gamble. He said it himself. It was like a 50-50 chance it was going to happen.
I have a 66% chance of succeeding at this. Don't like it. Don't choose that. To us, it was just you're gambling. Don't complain.
Right.
Is that big a deal? And we were trying to figure out how much of that was this rule is bad versus they just wanted it the way it used to be.
They like the old version better, but we were like, we thought the new version seemed fair because it's kind of that gambler's reward where it's like, do I risk it and get that chance to do what I really need to do? Or do I fail miserably and not get my double charge that I need to?
What you guys are talking about, though, is a perfect example, right? That's a different rule than 3.5. Some people like that old version where it was consistent. You roll the dice and going in before you make your charge declaration that you have it or you don't have it.
But talking about old fantasy, there was something similar. It used to be at one version, it was you charge double your movement.
8th edition, it was random charge distances.
Yeah, they did the random charges. So I also didn't like that, and I don't know if I was just like my old version, but the idea you're my horsies can go a certain distance. This is dumb. We just sat and looked and okay, this is a gamble. Do you gamble? But I also a lot of times we are rolling dice, but at some point you want your unit to do the thing it was going to do, and so
Warhammer 8th edition, so you roll the dice and that was the number, right? Maybe it was 2d6 plus 4, whatever it is. In Kings of War, if you have wild charge D3 but your unit moves 5, you already have a charge distance of 10, so you already can do that if you wanted to.
You're going minimum 11.
Correct. You know that you have a minimum of 11, but the question is, do you go for that 3, 4, 5, or 6 on the dice to get an extra up to 2 inches, right? If you have a D3, swings and roundabouts. I can see both sides. I don't necessarily think it's a feel bad because you made the decision to do that.
They're not wrong. They liked the other version. That's fine. I'm not judging them at all.
Some people like chocolate, some like vanilla, and that's okay. Ultimately the goal here, I think, for 4th edition is to make a rule set that you like most of the changes, right? You don't have to like every single, there's a lot of rules, right? You don't have to like every single rule. It's more nuanced than the internet would lead you to believe, right?
And the great thing about having an application on an app is that if it doesn't work, they can just update it. And guess what? It's fixed. I think it's great. I will say that you did talk about some of the older players being a little jaded. We have had a little bit of that in our community. I'm taking my positivity hat out for a second, but there are one or two people at a different game store that I used to go to that are all talking about how this is terrible. It's fine that you have those feelings, but to go and seek out people who are having fun with a game and then just attacking them.
There are very, very negative people in the world. It turns out, right?
Positivity builds communities.
Yeah.
And if you're upset about things, that's fine. If you don't like a rule, that's fine. But know your audience a little bit, because if all you're doing is talking about the things you don't like about Kings of War, all you're doing is creating this negative reinforcement that Kings of War is a bad game. And then it makes it harder for people to come in and say, oh, well, everyone's saying this game is bad, so why would I want to invest in a game where the people who've been playing it for 10 years are saying it's terrible? I get it. I respect it. But it's also like, as I was saying, the one person that causes the most problems has never bought a book, never bought models, and plays with their old 20-year-old Warhammer figs. And just having this negative conversation just doesn't help build a community.
Sometimes it's the vocal minority.
Correct.
The reality is, yes, there are people that like 4th edition and people that have issues with it, right? There's people on both sides, whether they like it or dislike it. People that have constructive criticism about the game itself isn't the rules. You know, it's in the army balance and you can say commands.
Even with the commands, Rob, they just had the post, if you know, they're talking about like, hey, if you have ideas for commands, give them up to me. And I'm like, absolutely, I have great ideas. Like, I was just talking to Adam, like, I have this idea of, you know, in fantasy, you've got the superhero who always is like, come at me, lads, let's follow me into battle. And like, you could easily imitate that on the board by saying, okay, this turn, this unit gets inspiring, but because they're too busy waving the flag, their save value goes down to. And so like, it's a thing that anybody can use, but there's going to be a negative effect. Like, there are things that they can add to the game and people can just add their spin of adding a little bit of character to the armies and just making more generic commands everyone can use.
And I also think like it's still too early to really be, the game is dead.
Right.
Give it some time. Let's get more data. Before we make any corrections or enhancements to the game, let's still get more data. There are 4 armies in the first book. I don't know that necessarily that just means that these are like, this isn't GW.
But Rob, they're broken.
Well, that's what some people will say. And I get the argument that like you have more choice, maybe. You have a more fully developed army. I get all that from a narrative perspective and the number of commands and spells, all that. Yeah, I don't think there's any correlation to the actual army strength.
Well, Rob, have you played every mission in the book yet?
So we're talking about people criticizing the game, right? And one of the things that makes me laugh is you go to the tournaments and all of it, well, we're not playing that scenario. We're not going to play it long ways. Well, like, if you don't play the game as it's intended, how do you actually know you don't like the game? You haven't played the game. You've played the rules for today in a framework from 3.5.
We've been trying like one of each.
We tried like a loot scenario, the objective scenario,
and a kill scenario, and we've been trying to test them out. But like, going to your point, Rob, like, it feels like Kings of War is more about the objectives now, which is great, and it's less about just building an army that tables your opponent. And so, like in our last game, Graham was playing Adam, and we were doing, was it loot tokens, Adam?
Yeah.
And, you know, Graham was, you know, down on his luck because he was losing models left and right. But what he didn't realize is he was controlling a majority of the loot tokens, and then he started running away, and he actually won the game.
Play the scenario. Surprisingly, you'll probably win more times than not.
Yeah, surprise, surprise.
Was there anything that was changed in 4th edition that you were surprised that maybe you went into it thinking it was going to work a certain way, but wow, the way it was really on the table has really blown your brain?
So for me, I didn't play much in 3rd, so I don't have the that necessarily that frame of reference.
You don't have the baggage.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know what's new in 4th versus what isn't. You know, I've listened to some of the podcasts, and so that some of that's, you know, I have it from that perspective. But I think we mentioned this, that like I think the commands are very cool. Like the characters are now expensive, but playing around the commands is just really fun. Like, Graham keeps getting his flesh hooks off, which is like really makes it interesting, like back and forth. We had a game where Graham had a big regiment of impalers, which I didn't want to like touch, but it's only speed 5, and I can give my whole army 12-inch range fireballs. So I just like, okay, I will be 11 inches away, and all my primes are getting fireballs, and I'm just like, I can turn into a, you know, mid-range ranged army. And so, and then when it gets into combat, I have the extra defense, or I have the life leech. So it was a really cool job when you actually saw it in play, of the characters being the center point of your strategy without just being a guy who can solo a unit, right? You always talk about like Hero Hammer way back in the day, and it was like, oh, if I put the right things on this character, he can destroy whole units by himself. It's not like that, but your army does build around it, which is very cool. And I think one thing we're going to get at, we're going to get at sooner is that we've wanted to build like the big units we like, but then we end up in this weird standoff where like, oh, well, your range is farther, so do I just take the charge? So I think we're going to be getting into like building more screening units and things. And I really want to see how like the fate rule plays out. Like the one or two times I tried it, I like got stuck by a building and it didn't work out, but that was just, happenstance from the way the board was playing.
Toying around with the idea of a planestalker with the Prowlmaster army, as because everyone says they're terrible. So I was like, let's just play a whole army of them and see how it works. But like building off what Adam says is, I think the coolest thing is the unlocks of like if you take a certain champion or hero, you can build your army in a certain way. And I'm kind of jealous that Zerkali don't have that yet, but it is kind of cool for like Graham to take a certain unit and then his impalers are now easier to take in an army. So I really do enjoy that. I really haven't found command orders to be busted or broken. I know everyone was worried about that, where it's like, oh my God, the plague pots or the armor 6 salamanders are going to be taking over the game. And sometimes if you play it well, you get rewarded. But in any list that I've been building, because we only play one battalion, I'm only going to get 3 orders off. And even then, I'm not really going to get them all off at the same time. And so like you can play around it, especially if you target their heroes and shut them down, or you just play in a way where you can't have them take advantage of it. My biggest problem is I kind of try to play Hero Hammer right now. So I've got this crazy idea of just stacking all of the command orders on the Prowlmaster to try to make them into like this super killer.
Can't you only be affected by one command?
What I've been trying to play around is the Prowlmaster has that special ability, the Alchemical Powers, where he turns into Blast 2. And there's that one command ability right here, which is Bloodhound. So if it's a hunter only, they gain Slayer N for the rule. So if you roll dice, it has to go off a 4+, and then whatever the lower dice amount is, they gain that Slayer ability. And so I've been like, well, what if I roll double 6s? And then he's got 10 attacks, and then it has Blast 2 because his alchemical powers. It's still not going to do anything because it's shooting, but it just sounds fun.
That's at the end of the day what we want to see on the table, right? You just want to have fun, right?
Right.
In terms of what armies, Adam, you mainly been playing salamanders, and Josh, you mainly been playing Zerkali. Do you guys dabble in other armies as well?
I printed out a bunch of state models I was using for Empire Dust, when we started off a couple of years ago. And so I was looking at how to get that. And I kind of just printed out everything that was cool. So I'm like, Regiment of Chariot or a Horde of Chariots, whatever they're called, and the Enslaved Guardians. And so like that army is not a legal army now. But I'm just like, oh, okay, if I take a Pharaoh and print up a unit of mummies, then I can do it.
They're nicely painted too, so I hope they get back to the table.
How much of your Forces of the Abyss do you actually have built, Josh?
Oh, 0. It's all in the box. It stares at me every time I'm in the hobby area.
Do you guys have big plans for the new book? Are you guys thinking, obviously, Adam, there's always more salamanders to build, but do you guys have some ideas of what maybe your next army is going to be?
I've got my orcs. I built a whole Riftforge orc army, and so that's kind of sitting in the box, and I do need to rebase it all because the heroes are on the wrong bases, so I think that's an easy fixer-upper. But from what I've been seeing, the orcs would just be fun to just have hordes of orcs on the table and just play with them a lot. I came from 40K where you always had the people just screaming at the top of their lungs, and you're like, those people obviously are having fun. So
absolutely, yeah.
So I think just updating that and then going into finally building the Forces of Abyss box and then finally pulling that out and seeing what I can do with it. But I mean, the models look great, and I've already got a really cool basing idea where I'm going to do some lava and then do some black charcoal on top of it, so it just looks like broken ground. So I think that's a cool thing, is that every unit is kind of its own little art piece, so you can just make it into a little diorama and go with it.
Is there anything you would change about 4th edition?
I think the one thing that I would change is not necessarily the rules itself. I understand the armies are coming, and I really would love more balance, and I think that's great. The one thing that always frustrates me is we're building a community. It's slowly growing. It's awesome, but it kind of feels like an island, and it doesn't feel like there's this global Kings of War community in the United States. And it's like even hard to find events in other areas if you're not in the know. I know that you had some guests on talking about their event and they posted on Facebook, but like having a central area where everyone can just, here's where all the events are. Here's where we go to talk about Kings of War. Here's where you can find what's coming up in your local community. I think that'd be awesome.
You've tapped into something there. It's been a problem we've had for a long time. We've had websites that were supposed to be the central repository, but we just never got the TOs to actually consistently use it. We had a website, I think it's called Kings of War Tournaments. We had the US Masters site, and it's only as good as the people using it, right? And so there was people that were looking for stuff, but the TOs weren't necessarily consistently posting on that.
Is the app has the function to put game events in there. Why doesn't anybody use that?
Part of it is a lot of the old guard TOs are probably not using the app for running their event. So they're using their own scoring software, their own, Google Sheets, spreadsheet. But to your point, you don't have to use the app to put a tournament on there, right? You could still, have a tournament. You could have people submit lists through it and then just choose not to use it for scoring.
And even then, last time we talked, I think you heard that we came from Star Wars Legion. Like they have the Longshanks app where they set up the pairings, they have all the rules. And what's cool about that is it has all the lists. And so you can see everyone's records of like, okay, well, Adam is 102 playing this list and it has this number of things on it. And this is his ELO score. And it's kind of a cool way to pull everyone together because at any time I can pull up Longshanks and I can see, the United Kingdom has a tournament this week. And this is the top 8 in that tournament. And I just think it's a missed opportunity. And I get that there's the infrastructure problem. And I mean, the Mantic app, I understand people don't want to do it, but it's just hard to find other people that play Kings of War.
A two-pronged problem. One is Mantic probably needs to do more with the app to make it more robust, right? To give you more scoring options and that kind of thing. For a long time, they didn't have like soft scores in there. The other part is getting some of the old guard to just use the app, right? And and people are stuck in their ways. It's sometimes hard to see the forest of the trees, right? Like the fact is there are people playing Kings of War. It's just hard to interconnect. And part of the problem I think is we rely on Facebook, and Facebook's probably the worst way to communicate.
I hate to break it to you, Rob. People my age don't use Facebook. Like I don't know anyone who plays.
No, you're
Facebook.
not hurting my feelings. In fact, I don't use Facebook for anything other than Kings of War stuff because that's just where people have moved on to. And so I'm wondering, Josh and Adam, I mean, what would be your suggestion? What do we need? We have these disconnected groups, these dots all around the country with these different groups playing. It's funny too. Sometimes you'll bump into somebody, you'll realize, oh, you're only 2 hours away from me. How did I not know you? Well, it's a bunch of things. One is it is Facebook. It's not the best way to communicate. And it's very siloed on Facebook. We've got, in the US, we have these different regional pages.
And I'm not ungrateful. I mean, people have been doing this for decades before we came here.
But that is something that's holding us back. If you go to the Mantic website, they have a thing for clubs. I signed my club up 6 months ago. It's still it's still not on the map. On Mantic's end, there's more they need to do as well. We need to organize play, kits. The tournament software needs to be improved still. I guess what I'm saying is there's a lot of work for a lot of people, but you're not wrong. We need that middle, that tool, that the Longshanks, right? Or what Best Coast pairings or whatever different games use. We need something like that has critical mass of acceptance.
Well, Rob, all they need to do is pick up the phone and call the guy who's running the Halo app, because every Halo tournament is in the Halo app, and you even have the ELO rankings, and they have who's the best North American player and who's the record, and they're even doing leagues with it. So just call that guy.
It's the same guy.
Okay, well, that guy needs
but
to,
it's separated because I guess there's licensing thing. That you're all right that the Halo app
it's functioning.
Right. It's functioning.
Other thing that Halo has, and this might be controversial, is they've got a tournament pack. And they say, okay, here's the tournament pack. Here's what you need to do to run a tournament. Let's just give you the PDF.
They have the organized play kit.
Here's the rewards. Right. And here's some tournament special figs that you can give to the first through fourth finished players. And you can sign up for additional rewards if you host enough tournaments.
And I think there's something with you can use the carrot of the organized play kit and the prize pack and stuff to organize something. Like, yeah, it has to be in this app. It has to be, maybe run in a certain way. You don't want to like hamstring people too much with like the scoring or whatever, but get certain requirements that, make it stuff people want, things people, awards or what people want to do. Because like what Legion, Star Wars Legion does a lot of that, and they have, that's the way you get the invites into the Worlds event.
Well, they do that for Kings, right? But you just don't know where they're Kings events to get your points.
And you bring up a good point, Josh. I think if you're really into the competitive scene and you really want to be part of the U.S. Masters, I think there is some coordinated effort. That it's spread across multiple Facebook pages, but there is an easier time of finding that information. I think my bigger concern, and maybe you're sort of saying the same thing, I think, is that we have casual players that just want to like, hey, I just want to check out a tournament. Where do I go? And correct. I don't know that in the U.S., at least in the U.S., we haven't done a good job of that.
Find me a weekend that Adam and I can get a babysitter and we'll show up, but you got to tell us where to show up to.
And we've talked about this before, is that like a rank and flank fantasy army thing is hard to get new players into, right? Like sometimes fantasy, some people don't find fantasy as flashy as, sci-fi, and as cool as it looks with a full army on the table, it's also a little intimidating. Like it's a special person who sees 100 models on the table and says, yeah, sign me up for that. Maybe the champion stuff is is a good lead into it.
What I'm optimistic about is that Alex is on board. He's been there a few months now. He'll be able to lead us to the promised land on the Mantic side. I'm sure he's listening to this kind of feedback, and he could take the steps to make it the information easier to find, more readily accessible, continue to work on the app. Organized play kit. If we just had an organized play kit
would be
that would go a long way, especially Adam, like your idea that it would incentivize you to use the actual companion by saying, hey, if you use the companion, you're signed up for this award or that award or this extra prize support, right?
And it's something I can show to my local game store. So I can go to Graham and be like, hey, tell your boss to buy this, and then we'll help you host an event, and then people will come, and then we'll buy more Kings of War stuff, and then you can get a larger Manticore.
Or, Josh, when you become a Pathfinder.
Oh, you keep pushing this, Rob.
It is 100% a commitment, but, a Pathfinder in your area would do wonders, right? But it is hard. It is hard to do it, right? You got to, building it, from scratch is always difficult.
Hard.
It takes years.
It takes years. And you got to have the right critical mass of people, because what I found is if it's just you, you could get it going, but it's hard to keep the enthusiasm up and to sustain it. You need like-minded people that are willing to jump in and help. Oh, we need to build some terrain. Let's run a tournament this month. I'm going to host it.
You can't be the only person running things all the time, or you're just going to burn yourself out.
Right. You got to be able to play sometimes.
We're hitting that mass a little bit in that, like, there's the three of us that go over to Adam's house and play, which is awesome. And then we go to we're going to start leeching into the store. And we've got at least 2 other people buying Kings of War stuff in the store and showing their pictures. So that's 5 people. That's enough for at least 2 games at a time, and then somebody to help out. And then from there, you could start making it easier, and just not everybody has to show up every week, which is also great.
Yeah, I'd also say we're kind of in a weird spot too, right? So we got the 4th edition launched in tail end of last year. We're 5-6 months in. In that transition, it always takes a little time for people to get their feet under themselves, and really, especially the old timers, like, oh, I've got to learn this whole new rule system and figure out my army. So I think at some point, maybe in another quarter, maybe by the end of the year, we'll start to see that uptick of, okay, I understand the game again. I understand how the army construction works. And some of the criticism about army balance will start to get addressed as well, right? Ronnie has said that book coming out to the end of the year, we should fully expect it's not just going to be 4 armies. There's going to be some rule corrections as well. They'll probably have some updates to the command orders.
But also, the further we get along the line, all the product's going to be designed for 4th edition. One of the things we found out with Graham is when he bought his 4 armies, he couldn't actually play a legal army with all 4 of those starter box armies, because some of those things were core troops. They were specialists. And so he's like, what do you mean? I just bought this $100 box with 60 models in it and I can't build a legal army. And so like Mantic is slowly integrating that going forward so that all these armies are now officially core. So I think that's great. By now, I think a lot of the Sky is Falling has kind of disappeared. So overall, I think it's good movement, right, Adam?
And when there has been issues like the Shooty Triarums list that kind of was the boogeyman for about a week, that was addressed. Like, oh, there's a cost issue here. It didn't.
That was a mistake.
That was a mistake, and the FAQ has helped a lot as well. So I guess what I'm saying is, it does appear that they're listening and they're making the changes. And you brought it up earlier, Josh, that little line in one of the blog posts where they said, hey, we want your feedback on commands. What ideas do you have? It's like, that's exactly what they need to do, right? You got to crowdsource this thing.
Right.
Give us all your ideas, the good, the bad, the ugly. And, some of them are going to be amazing. Like, I think your idea about could have inspiring, a route value goes down because he's too busy, rah, rah, rah. He's not paying attention to getting shot by an arrow. Narrative flair there. I think it's cool.
And even then, like, these are just the first ones. Like, I'm sure they're going to have some command orders coming forward that are going to be like, well, here's the benefit, but there's going to be a negative attached to it because it's a little bit too powerful. Or we're going to limit it to you only can use it once per round.
Like the Salamander's 6+ defense is like having to get 2 successes, like feels like it makes it really balanced because you have like a 25% chance of doing it with a normal dude. And even with a warlord or someone with what's the Banner of Command or whatever it is, it's still only 50-50s. You can't count on it. Like just that little thing they did to make that more difficult. And then I think some of the Twilightkin, you need a 5+ to get them off. It just makes it that little bit more difficult. I feel like they have enough levers to pull on those that it seems like they're in a good place.
And I mean, the one that people complain about is the Rat Kid, right? With the ability to give them the plague pots, right? And putting it on the really cheap unit is a difficult thing, right? But either don't let them, trait that out so that they can't put it on that unit, or make it so indifferently hard that there's no way they're going to get, all these really, 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 really cheap units to have in Snare, right?
Well, let me ask you this, Rob: has anyone taken that to a tournament?
Yeah, they have. There probably is some examples of it winning, but I think the problem with that army is it's not fun to play against.
Got it.
So, and I think at the end of the day, that's actually more important than the competitive balance. Like if nobody wants to play that, the wretch spam. So again, I fully expect them to fix this, right? Like
They'll
I fully
probably
expect
limit the number of wretches you could take in an army,
or just make them that they can't be a target of that command.
They've already done it as Zerkali. There's certain ones that only affect Jan. There's only certain ones that affect hunter keywords and the dog keyword. Was it Yamaka or whatever?
Adam is 100% correct. Like they already have all the levers they need. Like if something's too easy or it's too pervasive, they can make it harder. They can make the number of successes increase. They can make the target number increase, right? Like there's lots of ways they can change the keywords. So, or I guess they can change the traits.
They can make it, you roll 1 fewer dice to do this command, or just make, there's a lot of stuff they can do
with points values. Like Adam and I are just playing 1 battalion at 2,000 points, and it feels kind of good because you still have those limitations, and we don't necessarily get all of those skewed armies. From Mantid's perspective, what's the point value they are balancing the game at? Like that would be helpful for us to know. Like, hey, we're balancing this game for 2,000 or 2,300 points, and we think that this is where the balance should be. I know communities like to play at different point values, but that might help a little bit.
Well, I think too, it's an evolving thing, right? Like they've only really have 4 enhanced armies. As more armies come out, they'll be able to make modifications to the formula in terms of weighting, but also as the new armies come on, they'll be able to balance armies against each other, in terms of how they do against each other on the table. So yeah, it's a good time to be in Kings of War, right? We're at the infancy of a new dawn of Kings of War, and I think it's very positive. I know we've had bouts of negativity or the sky is we have had some sky is falling, but that really hasn't materialized on the table. I will say the one criticism I do agree with, we need to get more armies out, more army list updated, sure, to get the balance better, and not even necessarily for the balance as much as just making the armies interesting,
make them all
again,
fun,
right?
Yeah,
exactly, right. Give me a few extra command options, maybe give me some new tasty spells. Maybe give me a custom magical artifact. I don't know.
Well, Rob, when you played fantasy, how many fantasy army codexes came out every year? Maybe one?
Yeah, or two at the most. It is funny when you bring that up because, I mean, the joke for a long time, I was a Bretonnian player, and then, like, I think I went 7 years between books, right? It was something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Anthony Reynolds wrote the Codex, and it was like, Army book. I wasn't playing 40K. But yeah, to your point, Adam, if they stick to the schedule of a new book every 6 months, right? And every 6 months you get 4 more armies, 2.5 years, we're done. We got all the armies. So this is not going to be a 5 to 7 year plan to get the armies updated.
Before I forget about this, I had a couple of like new player impressions I wanted to like circle back to that I had questions on.
Fire away.
This is very low level and stupid.
As in, we don't know what we're doing?
No. This is like, I think this is something that someone who's played for a while, like probably hasn't thought of in a decade, right? But I think, I'm coming from fantasy where you would do a wheel, right? Where front corner would stay stationary and you'd rotate around it. And in Kings, you rotate on your center. But as we were doing some of this live, I realized I'm just like, unless you come up with some weird contraption for your base, there is no way to guarantee a player is rotating a unit on its center.
There are already 2 devices you can use. First of all, there are pivot trays that actually have a pivot point where the tray spins on a base, and then you can actually lift the unit off the base and leave another base behind. It actually pivots on its center. It spins. The other thing is they do make this arc set that you can actually put above the unit because, to your point, pivoting is cleaner than wheeling.
It's conceptually more clear for a player.
And a lot of people will bring the blink bases with little handles, and they'll hold them above the unit, and they will, they'll show their pivots that way. But it's more accoutrement, right? It's more like, okay, there's more crap on the table now.
It's like I said, I played like competitive War Machine for a while, which is like rules lawyer. I'm going to measure to the eighth, the 16th of an inch, and if you touch that model, you move it. Like everyone was like super on it, and it was designed to be as competitive as possible. This, back in the Mark II, Mark III. And so when I see something like that and I go, wow, like a player playing really fast and loose could probably like get an extra inch or two of movement out of that if you're not watching them. And it's like, obviously none of us are doing that. And if it's off by a little bit, it doesn't matter. And I think 99.9% of games, either it's some combination of like the person's going to be close enough or that it's not going to matter, or it's a friendly game and it's not intentional. But like it was the kind of thing that struck me as like, this could be difficult depending on your crowd.
What's interesting is it's usually not the distance, right? Because you measure from a point on your unit to the enemy unit
or something.
Right? Yeah, and you're there. What does come up from time to time back in the old days is, do you have enough pivots? Is your pivot more than 90 to make the charge? I think some of that's gone away in 4th edition because combination charges, you can charge through your own units now. You get to pick the whatever path you want. In the past, you had to take a more direct line.
And not caring about the distance for the distance actually move for a charge is so clean and fast. Like I think we read that and we're like, oh, that seems easy. And it's even easier in practice. Like that's great.
And Nimble gives you an extra pivot on the charge, right? So that is the one area that's always been a thing in Kings of War, is that like if you only have one pivot, it's up to 90 degrees. And did you pivot up to 90 degrees, or did you pivot more? And so, but again, now that you can move through your own units while you charge in a multi-charge, and you get to pick which direction you want to go. The only thing that's still the same is you can't go you can't cross paths, right? Like if I'm on the left side and I'm on the right, that's where you got to end up. But you have a lot more flexibility now. That really hasn't come up.
And the other one that was similar to that is like, obviously they call out in the book, like no corner to corner charges, but we definitely ended up in this. I'm doing stuff with my hands here on the camera, but like we had 2 units that were sort of like as though they were next to each other, but then sort of like facing away.
It was like a checkers board.
Yeah, so like I got these like that terrain, but like they're like faced like this, and theoretically you could get a unit in that could like charge a flank that would only be like a millimeter, like only a millimeter of your base could be in contact with theirs. And I'm like, I know it calls out corner to corner, but like the fact that there's not something concrete where you go, you have to overlap by at least an inch or something. Maybe it's in there and I missed it, but it got to this like ticky tacky thing where I'm like, can I charge you and just overlap by a millimeter and I get my 20 attacks? Like that seems dumb. And so a couple of those things we ran into where it was like, it was almost it felt like the rules got too simple and we started questioning it. But again, those are very like minor things, but I was just curious as to how that like is dealt with.
It's interesting because, in Champions, we have the 1 inch rule. You got to have at least 1 inch of overlap to be a legal charge. Ultimately, no matter what number you pick, it's arbitrary.
Yeah.
That thing of, I'm at an inch, but are you at an inch 0.0001? I think at the end of the day, what does help is that you can only charge 2 units on a facing now. Some of the issues go away just because you don't have 3 or even 4 units charging a big horde.
Which, by the way, is an awesome change.
Yeah, it was awesome. And so I think now I always default to geometry.
It is such a lifesaver not having to do the arithmetic of, okay, I've got 4 units. How do I order these charges to get them into the one facing of this one unit? Because guess what? You can only put 2 in now.
I remember I talked about on the podcast one time, but like somebody was charging like 3 Croniuses into a unit. It's like, okay, well, where did you start? Because they have to end in the same position. If this one's on the left, this one's in the middle, and this one's on the right, they all got to hit the unit in the same order. You couldn't go through your own units, and you had to take the most direct route, and there's so complicated.
And how long did that take to solve?
Yeah, it was like 5-10 minutes, right? And you're like, okay, I didn't gain anything from that. Now you just, okay, I'm charging these. Do I have line of sight? Yes. Am I within the distance? Yes. Can I make that charge with just the number of pivots I have? Yes. Cool. Move it in. And now you can even decide to avoid the difficult terrain if you want to.
Yeah, so we were playing when Graham played his first like 1,500 point game with full terrain on the full board and everything. We were trying to explain that to him, and it was one of those things where it was like so easy to do, like his brain was just wouldn't accept it.
Yeah, he was fighting it. He's like, this is too easy.
What do you mean I don't have to measure? It's like, well, you're in range and you have a valid path, so you're good.
Also, a change in 4th edition, which makes things a little easier, is before you shared the frontage. Now, if you got 2 units on that facing, you just make it so that the overhang of your 2 units on that unit is the same.
I do remember that being confusing in the when I reading the 3rd edition. Yeah,
shooting's so much easier now too, because you can just say, okay, my unit is this height, the cover is this height. I can't see you, even though I can see you. So you don't have to be like, well, do I actually see the unit or not? I mean, that's so helpful.
They've done a lot of things just to speed the game up, things that really didn't matter in the grand scheme of things. And then obviously there's new complexities like the withdrawal rule, the feint rule, which there's some tactical play there that there's probably still some people that haven't had a chance to really dig into that. But that's, there are still tactics there. It's just different than before. Yeah. Was there any other rules you guys were pontificating about?
The terrain was also interesting because we were sitting here going like, so we're like, this is a pond. It's height 0. We'll call it height 0. Cool. And then we're just like, I'm behind this pond. Do I like get terrain? We're like, well, technically you're height 2 and it's height 0. You're not more than 3 more than it. And we were conceptually thinking of height 0, meaning it has no height, but rules as written, it provides cover if you're behind it.
Even in 3.5, we would use terms like flat. It has no height, but now it's like, just give everything a height.
Yeah.
And just do the math. Is it 3 or higher?
Anything that gives my units covers from your Commandants, I will say that gives cover.
Your units cover from my Commandants.
It's indirect, so you don't take cover.
So, Rob, why is it called indirect if you still have to have line of sight to shoot at it?
Why don't you have a forward observer or something, right?
Because like when I was like, oh, the mortar has indirect. I'm just going to hide it here and shoot it over the hill. And
once we got past a couple of those little things, like the terrain rules are very cool, but like the height and it just makes sense. You're like, okay, I'm height. And that let us like play around with it. We're like, okay, well, this pond is height 0. And this pond, we put some plants in it, and like it's height 1. And so like that made a difference because like all of a sudden now my big guys, my fire elementals, his impalers, the height 3 dogs, like they can get height from this one pond, but not the other one. And then we like made sure the forest was 3, so the big guys could get cover from it, but they can still see over it. Yeah, no, and we used like some of the pre-made terrain setups. And what was the one game we played where you place all the objectives before you choose which board side.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was fun.
And we placed them asymmetrically just to see how that would go. Because whenever you're placing things alternatively, it's really tempting just to make it symmetrical. But the terrain wasn't symmetrical, so it didn't necessarily make sense. And so like that was really fun. I feel like that's a tendency for all games. You're like, well, my stuff's already on this side of the table. I'm not going to switch. But I'm like, no, I will switch if it's better. I'm going to make everyone move all their stuff. I'm going to be that guy.
I can't wait to hear the first time you go to a tournament and someone just goes, you know what? Wherever you place the objective markers, I'm placing mine over there too. And you're going to have one side with like 70% of the markers. And then if you win the roll, you're in a pretty good chance to win it. If you don't win the roll, it's a little bit more difficult. But I just think in general, though, things like cover is really, they've improved it, right? Like now, if you want to know if you're in difficult terrain, is the center of your unit in the difficult terrain? Then you're in cover.
I love that change.
That's it. As opposed to, how do I figure out that this square is 50% in this piece of woods that has this crazy, peninsula thing? It's like, come on, guys.
Well, I like it better now because it kind of takes the idea of, okay, this square is a symbol of a bunch of different guys in this area. So they're in this general square area. So like if they're in the unit leaders in the cover, then maybe they're not in a straight line. Maybe they're just pushed back slightly.
If you're just out in the open, but I can only see less than 50% of your unit, well, then you're in cover, right? Unless they're 3 or higher than what's in front of them. I think they've made some interesting modifications just to make it easier, more accessible. Like some of the stuff that didn't matter, they just got rid of it. The effect is the same, right? It is slightly different mechanically, but the effect is the same. Yes, you just get to the point where you can know whether or not it's cover a little faster. Did the thing about can't die from shooting unless you're already devastated, is that something that tripped you guys up? Or you're like, no, this is how it's written. It makes perfect sense.
It took a little bit to like grok it, right? Because I think we ended up with like a decent number of fearless units. Like I had fire elementals, Graham had impalers, and we didn't take a ton of shooting, just in like the armies we happened to take. No, it made a lot of sense. Like, so like, yeah, like wavering things didn't make sense. Like I think we were using shooting to like chip units down before you charged in combat. But I definitely forgot about it once. Like, and I didn't even like play before where you could shoot something down. Like, what do you mean I can't kill it if I'll hit it? Oh yeah, right, shooting. It was a little counterintuitive because you're kind of just like, I do wounds, I can kill the thing. It makes a good amount of sense, and I'm sure we'll get around to a like little bit of a shooting meta at some point here, and it'll.
Coming from the guy who has yet to play with a shooting unit in this edition, so it's interesting because like we have a meta of 3 people. So Adam's Commandants are like the big bad wolf. Are they the best unit in the game?
They are pretty powerful.
So swingy though. It's interesting.
That's why you got to take 3 or 4.
Yeah.
But it's fun because like Adam has been doing so much with those fireballs, and like, burnt fur is not what I want with my guys. I've actually started building lists with the witch cage. So it's like, okay, well, I've got spell ward around all my guys now. So good luck with your fireball. And like now I'm bringing a witch hunter because, you've got 3 units with fireball. This is great. I want to come over here and, give you a big hug with a giant club. And it's just funny because like just the other day we were talking about, okay, look at this really cool dragon model that the Salamanders are getting. And now everyone's like, Graham was like, I want to build a terror now. And now I'm just like, well, I feel left out. Now I got to find some models to play with my Glockhead. So it's interesting because with 3 people, it's not a real meta. And it's just whatever's cool for the day. But we are even rotating our lists between games based on what people brought in the last game to try to counteract what we thought was the overpowered thing. And it's almost like an overcorrect.
At least you have an odd number of people, right? So you're not always playing the same exact person. And as you get farther into it and you get more armies built, I think that's going to be a pretty good thing. Any special rules threw you off? I think most of the rules were kind of the same, but maybe some of the wording has changed. Like in the case of Phalanx, has changed a little bit.
Yeah, Phalanx caught me off guard. When I first played with the Spiel Wardens, I was like, it is not as good as it used to be, or it didn't feel as consequential as it used to be, because in Chicago, I played against a guy who only played Elohi, and when you're playing with 12 flying units, you need to have at least 4 to 6 units of spears to stop them. yeah, it feels like it's a little bit more balanced now, and I like that. But yeah, that rule definitely caught me off guard, and I liked that. Well, how we're playing Strider and Pathfinder feel consequential.
Yeah, Pathfinder doesn't give you any advantage about being not hindered. It just lets you go through difficult terrain at the double, whereas Strider just means you're not hindered
Correct.
when you going through or on difficult terrain or obstacles. So Strider hasn't changed, but Pathfinder lost some luster.
And it's so interesting because all of the Zakali, they only have Strider. Like if you're playing with the dogs, they only have Strider on the units, and you can give an aura of Strider to some of the monsters, but you don't have that inherent Pathfinder. So not playing with those two rules together, it's a different puzzle, and it's kind of fun to figure it out.
Yeah, I felt like who has Strider and who can get in the terrain has been big. And like I said, Graham was playing with his Twilight Kin, and they have all these defensive abilities, right? Like flesh hooks and snare, and he was using bark skin. And so like he had like maybe like for a given unit, he might have 3 or 4 things that happen on my turn. And I have none of that, right? So he kept going like, "Do you have anything like that?" I'm like, "No, dude, that's your army. I don't. All my stuff is on the offensive turn." You know, in a game that's very like, like is it a game that's designed to be played on a chess clock, and like I do everything on my turn. That was a little bit of a hiccup. Going like, "Oh, okay, I have to keep track of all these things are on your. All these things are going to impact on my turn. I don't have to just like deal with you hitting me in a slightly better way."
It is kind of cool though too, because Graham is playing with the what is it, Lethal Voidheart here, and she has that Croneborn, like Crone Leech, where like she can steal health from other Crone characters to power up her spells, and it's a special rule. It's only on her, and it's really cool because it changes the game significantly. And he's loving it because he's just throwing more Crone units into his list to like build upon it because he likes that one character, and he's having fun with it. So I find that really cool.
Yeah, that is cool. What do you guys got planned in the future? What's next for you guys in Kings of War?
Because I have all the files, almost all the files for the Salamanders, like there's just so much stuff I still want to build. So I feel like I'm gonna definitely finishing out the Mantic slow grow. I'm gonna get another unit of Salamander Primes. I'm gonna get a unit, a troop of Ancients, another Commodon. I have 4 or 5 more characters built, so I can try out a bunch of different ones of those. I want to build some slasher. I want to do some slashers. I want the Clan Lord on the Fire Drake. I want to do some Gekatoa. I'm also like maybe like 1 unit away from the Champions box. So I want to do some Ember Sprites. Like I have a huge list of stuff I want to do for the Salamanders. So I'm thinking I'm probably just gonna like finish those out, and then I'll probably see where I want to be from there. I might go back to do some of the Empire Dust stuff.
Adam's basically saying he's playing Pokemon. He's got to catch them all. So he's got to get 2 of everything, it sounds like.
I already got him. Like, the machine goes burr.
Yeah, that's the thing about having a 3D printer is it seems to be running all the time at your house right now.
Well, he's got friends that need armies, right?
Hey, you know what? He's a great friend, and he's been doing the Lord's work, printing off special characters. So it's great.
What do you got planned, Josh? Anything new coming in Kings of War?
You know what? I think I'm going to flesh out a little bit of my list. As I mentioned earlier, we're kind of built up to 2,000 points. Having a few more units just to have variety would be fun. But I'm kind of in that phase where I really like the Yon model, so I'm trying to build a few hordes of that just so I can build like an all infantry list because I think that'd be a lot of fun. I don't know if it's going to work, but it just seems interesting. Besides that, we did mention that we are going to start getting more people to maybe start playing the store, at least introducing people to Kings of War because it's starting to catch on a little bit. So hopefully we can start getting more people involved in the community because that would be awesome. And I don't know. You did say I had to go to Adepticon next year, so maybe I'll convince Adam to drive me up there.
Well, I didn't make it this year, so if I will be there next year. I'm hoping you and Adam both make the trip over. It's not that far from. Maybe an hour and a half from where you guys? Are you guys North Chicago or are you guys South?
We're
Chicago?
South Chicago, so we're like Milwaukee. It's 45 minutes unless it's traffic, and then it's 2 hours. So,
isn't it always traffic? Come on, it's Chicago.
It's Chicago. It's always under construction, but. No, I mean, I've heard good things about the new venue. I haven't been since it moved. Part of it was it used to be 15 minutes from my house. Adepticon being a 15-minute drive was so easy. And like the last time we met, I just played and then drove home with the kids.
I will say I went last year, and the venue is so much bigger that a lot of the issues they were having about busting at the seams, we're all back in one building and there's plenty of space. So I think they've got room to grow. Yeah, they had a great turnout for Kings of War this year, so I fully expect you and Adam to make the jaunt over next year.
Yeah.
We could all play, and Josh can show up and give them the oh golly gee, I just started playing Kings of War. Oops, I won the event.
It would be my first tournament. I don't expect
right. Well, I mean, that's what we expect out of you at this point, right? Show up,
Rob, please.
And you're just like, oh, I won the tournament.
I don't know what Jeremy told you about that game, but like we did play a game of Fair Fight at that tournament, and Jeremy played very well. It just got very unlucky with a few dice rolls.
Oh, don't say that. He didn't play well enough because he got beat by you and you stomped him. It was great.
He should have won the game, right? Is that what you're saying?
No, come on. Don't give him any credit. Don't give him any credit.
No, Jeremy's like the Buddha, right? Like everything is great.
He is very nice. Yes. But sometimes you got to pound the Buddha into the ground. Sometimes you got to or shoot him with your orcs, right?
Well, either way, it's great. I think you're getting from what Adam and I are saying is that we're doing great. We're having fun with it. We're getting more people interested in it. We're kind of, growing from the ground where there's no one. I mean, 6 months ago, no one was playing Kings of War for years out here. So we're just trying to tap into the stream and just see where it goes.
Well, I think you guys are playing it the right way, not uber competitively, which is a good place to start. As you're growing the scene, you're not dissuading anybody. Graham doesn't show up and just get pounded into the ground by 6 Commandants. I'm making that up, of course.
It's interesting you say that because like a lot of when I was sitting with Graham, he actually won his last game against Adam, which I don't think I've ever seen Adam lose a game. So that was impressive.
His tiny unit with like Nerve 12 rolled double ones. What was I going to do?
But what's interesting about it is like Graham's so new to the game. He was just like, this is terrible. I'm going to lose this game. And I looked at the table and I was like, Adam went to like get a snack. And I was like, Graham, you're winning right now. Do you not see what's happening? And like just talking through what he could do in his turn. It was just fun to have that teamwork of like, oh, well, actually there is a path here. Being able to get a side charge to double my attacks. Oh, I can do double attacks. That's pretty cool. But yeah, I think Kings of War can be played casually. I mean, we're just putting lists together and having a good time. I think it's probably great at the competitive level, but from everything I've heard, it seems like the community is about having fun.
Even at the competitive level, people are just there to chill, to have fun.
If I'm going to an event and people aren't screaming at each other, you can walk away and just say, I want to have a beer with that guy. And I think that's the most important thing is the one thing I love about this community in general and just wargaming is it's one of the few places where you meet people who aren't necessarily in your stream, like our local community. Adam has a different career than me. Graham, I would have never met between that. And you can sit down, you can have people who are different spectrums on the political scene, have different income levels, have different religious beliefs. None of that matters. It's just sitting around having a good time and, talking with people and just being friendly.
There was something Graham said when he was playing. He was like, he was getting a little frustrated. He's like, I don't know what to do. Like, there's nothing good here. And I was just like, well, Graham, that's because I made a choice to do this because it gave you 2 mediocre to bad options. You can either move up and get hit by a bunch of fireballs, or you can stay back and I'll go get this objective or whatever. It was like a light clicked in his head at that point. He's like, oh, because he's like, I'm used to like, I'm playing it like Star Wars Legion or whatever. Like I'm in a range. Like I do my thing. I get in range. I shoot you, and then you do your thing. And we do the. It was like, but in this case, it was I'm going to give you 2 bad options. I can either take one of your bad options, or I can try to set you 2 bad options to choose from. And it was like I think that was the point where the rules started to like had gotten out of the way because they were easy enough to follow. That were just like. He was able to like he did the Neo and the like I see the Matrix.
Once he realized it's like chess and you're supposed to lose units and it's not a bad thing that you just lost that unit because it gave you an opportunity, he was like, oh, this is great. And I think that was like his awakening, like, oh, okay, like I can set up a bad charge, lose this unit, and then hit you in the side.
It's a peace trading game at the end of the day. And what Adam's hitting on is that you're either asking questions or you're answering them. And that will determine whether you're going to be proactive or reactive. And it's usually better to be the one asking the questions and putting people in difficult decisions. It's a fun game, and we're in an interesting spot. We're about to have another book. 4 more armies will get some love. We're going to get a bunch of new cool models, which at the end of the day, for me, it's all about the hobby anyways. I just want cool armies smashing each other on the table.
It has to be doing well because Graham and his distributor, it's all sold out and they haven't been able to restock it. So that people are buying it. That's always a good sign.
100%. Yeah. Well, guys, I really appreciate you guys coming on and chatting 5 months in since the last time you've been on and hearing about your progress. Can't wait to touch back with you, in the fall and hearing that, you're now seen as 20 people playing. You're having Saturday one-day tournaments, and I'm excited about what the future holds for you guys.
Yeah, I think that's our big goal, is to try to get a, now that we have a little more idea about it, we know what you need. Like the terrain kit, not too bad. Like I think getting a scene going would be a really cool goal for the next, for the rest of the year.
We're still working on building the like-minded community, which is all you really need. And once you get that 5 or 6 people willing to show up, great things can happen.
Yeah. And that's the tricky part, right? Is getting people to come at it with the right mindset, right? Come in and let's just have fun. Let's learn the game together. Let's grow. And as you guys all grow, you'll get more competitive and you'll learn the rules a little bit better. And the games will continue to get more interesting as you get more nuanced in your play and you have a deeper understanding of the tactics, right? It's that old saying, it's a minute to learn, a lifetime to master. It's still true in Kings of War, right? You can learn the game really quickly and be battling very quickly on the table. But, 6 months from now, you're going to be significantly stronger on the table than you are today because you'll have a better understanding. And who knows, maybe you'll also find a different army that clicks better with you, right? From a play style. So, well, guys, I appreciate you guys coming on and joining us. And like I said, make sure you reach out in 5 months so we can hear about your next batch. And we will definitely be seeing you, Josh, and Adam at Adepticon next year.
Sounds like a plan.
Well, that's going to do us tonight. And until next time, keep countercharging.
Thanks for listening. And we'll see you next time on Countercharge. Please let us know what you thought of the show by emailing us at counterchargepodcast@gmail.com, on Twitter at countercharge15, or by commenting on the Countercharge Kings of War podcast Facebook group. If you enjoy the show, you can help others find out about it by leaving positive reviews on iTunes. Until next time, keep countercharging. Music is a composition of Kevin MacLeod and is licensed under Creative Commons.